It doesn't matter whether you ride dressage horses, reiners, Western performance horses, trail horses, endurance horses, you recreationally ride on the weekends just for fun. Most people assume that a snaffle bit is just a snaffle bit. But the fact of the matter is that the smallest details in your snaffle bit setups can make the biggest difference. And those small details impact whether your horse is going to be responsive or reactive, whether they're going to be relaxed or if they're going to be anxious, whether they're going to have really good performance or if they're going to be struggling to understand what you're asking or being able to use their body correctly. So whether you are watching this video because you have your own horse that is not responding the way you'd want, or maybe you even have a client out there that is struggling and maybe you can pass this video along to them to help them have a better sense of understanding. Guys, my whole focus in this video is to bring to light the understanding of the small details that have the biggest impact through your snaffle bit setups so that your horse can be more relaxed, more responsive, so that your communication can be more clear to your horses. So you might be having frustrations with clear communication, your horse is just simply not doing what you want him to do. And right now, let's break it down and dive into the snaffle bit. So let's go ahead and dive in, y'all. And if we have not met before, by the way, my name is Colton Woods, and y'all, my entire focus here is to bring you practical horsemanship information based on real experience, science-backed information that serves our horses to make sure that whether you ride dressage horses, reiners, trail horses, endurance horses, I don't care what kind of horses you ride, I want to make sure that the way that we work with our horses and the tack that we use with our horses is set up to make sure that the experience is as enjoyable for our horses as possible. And that we have, in this particular video, we're talking about snaffles, we're going to be making sure that we're not fighting with our tack. We have made intentional decisions to make sure that our tack helps us communicate more clearly with our horses. And these videos, of course, are completely free. So all I ask is if you get something valuable out of this and you want to see more like it, hit the subscribe button, drop the like button. And if you have a takeaway, if you have a question, you can use that comment section down below. Y'all, I try to go through and read as many comments as possible, respond to your questions there. And so let's go ahead and dive into talking about our snaffle bits. And this applies to all horses of all breeds, of all disciplines. And so, you know, and some of you guys know this, some of you guys don't know this, right? For over a decade, I primarily rode warm bloods, right? Hunters, jumpers, dressage horses, event horses. And then, of course, in there, I've ridden a lot of recreational based horses. And on the side, when I was riding a lot of those English horses, I rode my own horses for Western performance horses. Now I'm trying to focus more on my Western performance horses because I've got goals there that I want to achieve. And there's things that I want to get better at. But this applies to all horses because a bit is a bit is a bit is a bit, and a horse is a horse is a horse is a horse. All right, I think we can understand. We want to keep this practical. Everything has a purpose. We're making intentional based decisions. So one of the biggest problems that I see in the industry, I'm going to take you through a couple of them, but in a big general sense, because snaffle bits are so common, I oftentimes see people that just kind of take the snaffle for granted, and they just assume like, hey, it's just a snaffle bit. Just put some reins on it, put it on a headstall, and let's go ride our horse. It's a very simplistic bit. It doesn't need to be complicated, right? And it is simple in function, but how the reins and the headstall and the bit and the curve strap all interact have a drastic impact on your horse's comfort level, on your ability to communicate effectively with your horse, whether your horse is going to be relaxed or they're going to be aggravated. Right? And I want to point out some of these things so that way you're better prepared to make sure that you're setting your horse up for success. Because, for example, these two snaffle bit setups are brand new. We just put these together, and I put them together for us to use with our training horses, but also because we have people coming down to the ranch that are coming for horsemanship intensives, and they're going to be taking lessons to develop their horsemanship. And I want my horses to be comfortable, but I also want them, the human, to be comfortable with the tack. And it needs to be comfortable and it needs to be effective. And everything that we decided on in putting these snaffle bit setups have a purpose, right? And one of the key purposes that I want the communication to be clear with my horses. And we didn't just whimsically go, here's a cheap bit, here's a cheap set of reins, here's a nice headstall, let's just slap that together, right? No, it takes intentionality. Even though it's simple, right? Horsemanship in general is simple, but it's not easy, right? Snaffle bits are simple in nature, but we have to understand how they work and how our tack impacts it, because ultimately, horsemanship's hard enough as it is. We don't want to be fighting with our tack and aggravating our horse because we have something that doesn't work well for them. And in the industry overall, a lot of people are chasing comfort. We want our horses to be comfortable. I think we all can agree with that, right? Can you agree with me? You can type yes down in the comments if you agree. You want your horse to be comfortable, don't you? I know I do, right? But in lieu of chasing comfort, there's bit salesmen out there that want to sell you bits. They're not in there to keep your horse comfortable. They're in there to sell you bits, okay? And tack guys want to sell you tack. That's how they make money, okay? Call a spade, right? But one of the things that have come along with pursuing comfort with our horses is the idea that, hey, we should get a lighter bit. Lighter bits are better bits. It's not true. It's absolutely false. In fact, you're better off to pick a heavier bit for your horse to ride in than you are to pick a lighter bit for your horse to ride in. And I want you to think about that from this perspective. And this takes a little bit of visualization, a little bit of understanding. But like if you put and some of you guys might seem like if you put a lighter bit in a horse's mouth, how they'll work their mouth more. They'll kind of chomp on the bit more. Okay, it's light. It's just kind of there, but they're chomping at it. They're working their mouth more. They're not relaxed. I'm not saying they're licking and chewing their mouth, but they're more active. They're a little less settled with that lighter bit in their mouth. And if some of you guys have seen that, if you have seen that, let me know in the comments, right? Because having worked with tons and tons and tons of warm bloods, hundreds and hundreds of warm bloods, hundreds jumpers, dressage horses, as well as Western performance horses, and lots of recreational riders riding horses in between. Many times I see horses with lighter bits in the mouth and they're more active. They're more unsettled with their mouth as opposed to a horse that has a heavier bit. That doesn't mean that it's as heavy as a freaking dumbbell. Okay. We're not being dramatic here. It's a heavier bit though. It has more weight to it. These bits that I've selected here have more weight to them. It's made out of sweet iron and they have copper inlays and they have a little bit more weight to them, right? Than per se a regular stainless steel bit, right? A stainless steel bit oftentimes is a very light bit, like aluminum, stainless steel, they're a little bit lighter. Where these are sweet iron, they have a little bit more weight to them. And this is what ends up happening with those bits is that the reason a bit that has more weight to it is that it's able to stay in place better. It is able to stay, the horse is able to keep track of it more. They're able to find more comfort and confidence in that because it's not as influenced by things that don't matter, right? Lighter bits, when little things happen, those bits kind of start to vibrate, right? Because they're super light. They're not as sturdy. So they are very much affected by white noise. And so oftentimes I visualize having a lighter bit is kind of like having the TV on the wrong station or the radio station on the wrong station. It's there's all this white noise coming in that means nothing, and it's just simply aggravating to the horse, okay? Versus when you have a bit, when you have reins, when you have a headstall that has proper weight to it, right? This bit, if there's a little bit of white noise that comes into it, it's able to be diffused. It's not nearly as projected across that horse. This bit in the horse's mouth, on the horse's tongue, is not so heavy that it's like, oh, this is heavy, right? Because that's why you have a headstall. The headstall keeps the bit in place, all right? Let's be practical about this. But the bit is able to stay in place, and it's like a good handshake. It's like a good fitting boot, okay? And that's how it should be, right? Is that we have a good fitting bit that fits like a good fitting boot, like a nice fitting glove it stays right where it should be. It's not constantly getting out of position because it's too light, right? And it feels comfortable to the horse. And that's why when you go to select a bit, you're better off to go with something that actually has a little more weight to it. In fact, I don't ever buy a bit that doesn't have copper inlays in it. All right. And it's absolutely outrageous that they've made it illegal for English horses to show with copper inlays. But I would never ride a horse without copper inlays in them because of how much it helps the horse stay relaxed. And that's the next thing that I really want to get into, right? When it comes into your overall snaffle bit setup is that particularly if you go with a lighter bit that is a very plain type material, like a stainless steel type material, this is a big mistake that people make. They're like, I'm going to get a cheap bit or I'm going to get this plain bit that we do it with the good intentions, right? That's the thing that I don't want people to get upset about, is like, I understand that we all make decisions based on what we think is right. I'm here to bring awareness to, hey, why these things are a problem, and point you guys in the direction that I found would work best for me and my horses and the hundreds of people and horses that I've been able to help, right? And the fact of the matter is that when you use like a bit that does not have copper inlays, that does not have proper weight to it, what ends up happening is that horse's mouth dries out. Okay. And as that horse's mouth dries out, because copper inlays helps the horse salivate. And if they don't have that, and if the horse's mouth is tied shut, if the horse's mouth is getting dried out, right, then the horse is not able to swallow. They don't have any saliva in their mouth to swallow. Okay. And when that happens, then their tongue is going to get tight. Their hyoid apparatus is going to get tight. Their TMJ is going to get tight. And that is going to transfer down the horse's entire body to where the bit that you selected that caused their mouth to become dry, that caused that horse's mouth to become uncomfortable because they're constantly agitated by this white noise, because this light bit is moving around and they have all this noise that's going on, right? And I kind of think about, and I'll talk about this in a second, but for example, I would never use metal on metal. I would never clasp a metal buckle to the metal bit. And as much as I can avoid it, I would try not to do that, because I would think about just this metal buckle going tink, 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 tink. It would drive the horse absolutely batty, right? Drive them nuts. And then that causes them to get more reactive. It causes them to be more stressed out, more frustrated, right? It's just more that's going on in their face when we're trying to get them to pay attention to our seat, pay attention to our legs, to stay soft to our reins. And we want this to be comfortable. We want this to be we want the bit in our horse's mouth to allow our horse to be able to understand that that bit is there to help them understand what we're asking them, to help guide them, right? To be a point of reference for their balance. That's ultimately what we're after through the bit. And so when we have the wrong bit choice, when we have the wrong rein choice, or if we don't have a curb strap, or we have the wrong type of curb strap, we don't have the right fitting head stall for our horses, then ultimately it's going to impact the horse's entire body. And this is going to cause the hyoid apparatus to get tight, the TMJ to get tight, their back to get tight, for them not to be able to engage from behind, for their mind not to be truly focused. And in our program, right, the horse needs to be focused, so the more focused they get, the more relaxed they get. The more relaxed they get, the better they can understand what we're asking, right? If this bit, when we take a hold of the reins, if our bit is causing distraction in that horse's focus, we're missing the very first ingredient that we need. Is we need the horse to be able to be focused. And if I take a hold of my rein, I want that to be able to focus my horse. But if I have the wrong setup that is causing distraction, that's causing anxiety, that's causing that horse to be uncomfortable, then I can't ever truly get that horse really focused, because I've got the wrong tack setup. And it's really important that, as simple as a snaffle bit setup is that we strategically and intentionally make the decisions of the types of reins, the weight of the reins, the type of headstall, the fit of the headstall, the type of bit, the weight of the bit, the mouth style of the bit, the cheek piece style of the bit, how the reins attach the bit. We make intentional decisions around all of those pieces that come together to make what we refer to as a snaffle bit setup, so that way the horse is comfortable, and that our tack is there to help make our job easier, so that we can smoothly and confidently and calmly and responsively be able to guide our horse with what we need them and want them to be doing, right? And this doesn't need to be a distraction. This is an aid. The snaffle bit, by definition, is an aid to our communication with our horse. And if anyone that has made it this far in this video decides to go in the comment and be like, that's why I ride in a bitless bridle, guess what? Most people don't ride in a good fitting tack that's a bitless bridle anyway. You can ride in a side pull. I don't have anything against it. I actually prefer to ride, actually up here in this corner, I've got a traditional rawhide hackamore setup, right? That's what I ride in with some of my horses. But here's the thing, right? If you're riding in a rope halter doesn't really fit that good, right? A rope halter is mediocre at best at being able to communicate to a horse with very specific cues, okay? And at the end of the day, we're trying to clarify to our horses what we're looking for, right? Most of the communication be coming from our seat and our legs anyway, right? This is there for clarification, but also this is there to help enhance the horse's balance and the understanding of how we want that horse to use themselves. Okay, this is a very specific thing, but we cannot let if we're not intentionally making decisions and we're not aware of the decisions we're not aware of the implication, the result of the decisions that we are making, right? Then sometimes we get unintended results, unintended consequences with our horses. We have to understand that we need to be very mindful about the exact decisions that we make in a snaffle, because yes, they are simple in nature, but they have a drastic impact on a horse because we're putting this bit in the horse's mouth and we're communicating through the reins to our horse, and we're looking for specific responses. And we have to be mindful that we have a bit that can be present, that can be calm and quiet in that horse's mouth, so that way when the horse starts to feel a signal, when the horse starts to feel a direct pull, that they can go, and this is what I need to do, right? They can start to seek for the answer. They don't have to think through all this white noise because that bit has been jostling around in their mouth because it's too light, or because it's attached to a buckle to the headstall, or the reins have a buckle to the bit, and then it's causing extra noise, right? Ultimately, the picture that I want to paint for you guys is I want this headstall with this bit to hang in the horse's mouth and to be quiet, to be comfortable, to fit on that horse's head, just like a well-fitting boot. It is just there, and the horse can hold it in their mouth and go around the arena and lope around, and it's not bouncing around enough. It's just right there with them. It fits them just like the saddle does on their back, right? Just like the boots on my feet and the gloves that I put on my hands. It sits right there, and that way, when I go to draw the slack out of my reins, that is meaningful to the horse, and it's comfortable to the horse. And the horse has time, because I've got the right type of reins to be able to communicate smoothly with my horse. Now, it's kind of crazy because we're like 15 minutes into this already, and we're basically starting to scratch the surface. It starts with awareness, and we've talked about some really important things about the weight and the copper inlays and a lot of details that I want you to be able to take forward and use with your horses. But if you want to go even deeper into the reins, the types of reins, material of reins, width of reins, the rein attachments, right? Whether you go round reins, flat reins, what type of head stalls, right? Curb straps down here, bits, and all of the decisions that go into making sure that you're truly setting your horse up for success and you're making intentional decisions around your tack. I just did a 37-minute video just on snaffle bits, going through and walking you through all of those important decisions in our CAVVY community. And you can watch that video completely free, because you can click the link down in the description in the first comment, and you can do a free trial. You can download the app completely free. You can log in for free for a complete week. You can watch that video, any other video in there. There's hundreds of videos in there. And then you get access to the discussion board. You can ask me questions. You can post a photo of your bit. You can tell me what you're doing with your horse, and you can ask me specific questions. I check the app a couple of times a day to answer your questions, and you can download that app. We'll put the link down below. You can get access completely free. If you want to take it for a free ride and then be done with your test ride by the end of the week and cancel, you totally fine. I'd certainly love for you to stay longer, because when I go to answer questions, y'all, I always check the CAVVY community first. That's where some of my most dedicated students are. We're constantly putting new content in there. It is the step-by-step processes that I use on how to train my horses, the in-depth information that we go into in making the critical decisions, how we do things with our horses. And it's where you guys can get direct access to me to get feedback for your horses to help you along your journey. We built this so that we can continue helping you, right? Whether you're getting prepared to ride with us at a clinic this year, and you want to make sure you're prepared, the best place you can go is into the CAVVY community. If you want to go even deeper beyond these YouTube videos, the best place you can go is into the CAVVY community. It's why we invested in building an app, so you can have access to it on your phone. It works very much similar like Facebook, where you have your discussion board, except for unlike Facebook, there's no drama in there. We get to talk all about horses, developing our horsemanship, developing ourselves, so that we can be better leaders for our horse and so that we can be better prepared. right? I'm passionate about this community. I love all of y'all that are here on YouTube, and I love all of y'all that are a part of the CAVVY community. And I always appreciate those of you guys that are in there, because we do these videos for free so that we can hopefully build y'all's awareness, and then we can continue serving you deeper within the CAVVY community. So guys, you can get access completely free for a week, right? And I'd love to have you in there. I'll answer any of your questions, even if you cancel after a week. Just go check it out. If you love this video, at least go join it so that you can watch the full video, right? Go watch the full video and then cancel if you want to, right? I doubt that you will, because you want to watch the other videos, but go in there so that you can watch that full 37-minute video walking through the snaffle bit deal. And you know, I did this particular YouTube video in full transparency because we got to build awareness. We got to talk about the important things first, and then ultimately, if we want to have the deeper conversation, if you want to go deeper, go join the CAVVY community. And as always, let us know what was your biggest takeaway from this video, and we look forward to seeing you on the next one. Y'all take care. Together we rise. See you next time.